I think I'm going to lose my job.
To who?
Not a who, Daniel. A what? I watched a machine write in 9 seconds what took me 2 days last month.
And how are those 2 days, Max, honestly?
What do you mean?
I mean, the 2 days. How much of that was actual work and how much was email, Slack, 3 meetings, and checking your phone every 4 minutes?
That's not a fair question.
It's the only question. Because here's what nobody's telling you about this panic. 90% of workers now say they're afraid of AI. But the number that should scare you is a different one. 72% say AI makes them question their own value.
That's not a technology problem, that's a confidence problem.
In 2016, a computer science professor named Cal Newport wrote a book that predicted this exact moment. He called it Deep Work, and 10 years later, he had to update it. Not because he was wrong, but because he was too right.
Okay, so what's his answer? Work harder?
The opposite, Max. His answer is that almost nobody on Earth can concentrate anymore, and that the ability to focus without distraction is becoming the rarest, most valuable skill in the economy. Precisely because machines do the shallow stuff now.
Which means the people who can still think deeply aren't being replaced. They're becoming irreplaceable.
And you're telling me the fix is what? Willpower? Because I've tried that. Every Monday.
The fix is that you've been playing a game nobody explained to you. You've been rewarded your whole career for being responsive. And responsiveness is now the cheapest thing in the world.
4 rules, in order, 1 to 4, and 8 stories. A psychiatrist in a stone tower, a billionaire in a cabin, a novelist who refuses to answer email, and a blacksmith who might understand your career better than your manager does. Stay to the end, and you'll know exactly which side of that line you're standing on. 1922. A psychiatrist buys a plot of land in a village called Bollingen on the shore of a Swiss lake. And he starts building, with his own hands, stone by stone.
A vacation house.
A tower, Max. 2 floors of stone with a room at the center that only he had the key to.
No electricity. He'd wake at 7 and work in that room until the light was gone. And you have to understand what was at stake. Carl Jung was Sigmund Freud's chosen successor, the heir. Freud called him his son.
Oh no.
And Jung had started to think Freud was wrong about some very big things.
So he's about to break with the most powerful man in his field, the man who made his career, and he has to build an entire rival school of thought to survive it. That is not something you do between appointments.
So he hid in a tower to fight his boss.
He hid in a tower because you cannot dismantle the dominant theory in your field while answering correspondence.
And Newport's point isn't that you need a tower, it's that Jung was already busy, famous, in demand. He had a thriving clinical practice. He didn't find the time. He built a monument to protect it.
Here's the definition: deep work, professional activity performed in a state of distraction-free concentration that pushes your abilities to their limit. It creates new value, and it's hard to replicate.
And its opposite, shallow work. Logistical tasks, often done while distracted, easy to replicate. Max, that's the 2 days you were defending earlier.
I was answering emails. That's my job.
That's the part of your job a machine already does better.
That's cold.
That's the market, Max. And notice something. Nobody ever decided to build a career out of the shallow. It just happened. One tool at a time, one notification at a time, until the whole day was made of it.
Twice a year in the 90s, the richest man in the world would disappear. No staff, no family, a cottage by a lake, a stack of papers, and a week of nothing but reading and thinking.
Think weeks. I've heard of this. I thought it was a rich person hobby.
In 1995, he came out of one of those weeks with a memo called the Internet Tidal Wave. 10 pages. He sent it to his executives and told them the internet was now the highest priority at the company.
Everything Microsoft did for the next decade turned on that document, and it came out of one man, alone, with no meetings, for 7 days.
Okay, but he's Bill Gates. He can just leave.
He was running the most valuable company on Earth, Max. If anyone had an excuse to be permanently interrupted, it was him. He decided the thinking was worth more than the availability.
Newport says 2 abilities decide who wins in this economy. 1, the ability to master hard things quickly. 2. The ability to produce at an elite level in quality and in speed.
Notice what they have in common. Neither is possible while distracted, and neither one can be prompted.
So the machines take the easy half.
The machines take the easy half, and everyone who only had the easy half is now very, very nervous.
And here's the uncomfortable part. Deep work isn't just becoming more valuable, it's becoming more rare at exactly the same time, which is the best possible news for anyone willing to do it. 2009. A business professor named Sophie Leroy publishes a paper with the best title in academic history. Why is it so hard to do my work?
She found something she called attention residue. When you switch from one task to another, your attention doesn't come with you. Part of your mind stays stuck on the last thing.
So a quick check of my phone?
Cost you far more than the 30 seconds it took. You come back, but not all of you comes back.
I do that maybe 40 times a day.
Then you've never actually met your own full attention, Max. You've been working with a fraction of yourself and calling it your best.
And that's why you feel exhausted after a day where you produced nothing. It wasn't laziness. You spent the whole day paying a tax you didn't know existed.
Rule 1. Work deeply, and it starts by killing a myth. That willpower is the answer.
Willpower is a battery, not a personality trait. It drains. Every time you resist the phone, you spend some. So you don't decide to focus. You build a system that makes focus the default.
2007. J.K. Rowling is finishing the last Harry Potter book, and she cannot write at home. Too much noise, too many people, too much everything.
So she goes to a cafe, like a normal person.
She checks into a 5-star hotel suite in Edinburgh, hundreds of pounds a night, just to finish the manuscript.
Newport calls this a grand gesture. When you invest something dramatic into a task, money, travel, disruption, the task becomes too important to abandon. Your brain takes the hint.
I can't afford a hotel suite.
Then it's a cafe you have to pay for, a train ticket, a Saturday you told everyone you're unavailable. The size isn't the point. The signal is.
And notice what else she did. Through the entire writing of those books, she stayed off social media, not as a statement, as protection.
Newport gives 4 ways to structure this. Monastic. Cut off the world almost entirely. That's Jung. Bimodal. Split your life. Deep season, then open season. That's Gates. Rhythmic. Same hours, every single day, no negotiation. And journalistic. Switch into depth wherever a gap appears. But that one takes years of practice.
Which one am I?
Rhythmic. Always rhythmic at first. Same time, same place, every day, until the ritual does the deciding for you.
Because the goal is to stop spending willpower on the question, should I start now? That question alone has killed more careers than laziness ever did. Adam Grant became the youngest tenured professor at Wharton, and his secret was almost boring.
He batched. He'd stack all his teaching into one semester and give it everything. Then the other semester was entirely for research. Door closed, out of office on, no interruptions. And even inside that, he worked in long, uninterrupted blocks.
His door was just closed and nobody minded?
People adapt faster than you think, Max. What they don't adapt to is someone who's available every moment and excellent at none.
And one more thing Newport borrows from the business world. Keep a scoreboard. A visible count of the hours you actually spent in deep work this week. Not tasks done. Hours of real concentration.
Why hours and not results?
Because results are slow and hours are honest. You can't lie to a piece of paper on your wall for very long.
Rule 2, and it's the one people skip. Embrace boredom.
Because here's the trap. You can't be distracted all week and then focus on demand on Saturday morning. If your brain is trained to reach for stimulation the second things get dull, it has lost the ability to sustain depth. You rewired yourself.
So Newport's move is brutal in its simplicity. Don't take breaks from distraction. Take breaks from focus.
That's the same sentence backwards.
It's the opposite, Max. Most people focus and then reward themselves with distraction. He says, schedule the distraction and make focus the default in between.
So the line at the coffee shop
Is training. Every queue, every elevator, every waiting room where you don't reach for the phone is a rep. And every time you do reach, you're teaching your brain that boredom is an emergency. At Harvard, Theodore Roosevelt was doing everything at once: boxing, natural history, dance classes, and writing a book on naval warfare. His academic work got a fraction of the day, but that fraction was ferocious.
He'd take what should be a 3-hour task and give himself 1 hour, then attack it like something was chasing him.
Newport calls it the Roosevelt Dash, interval training for your attention. Pick a task, cut the time you think you need, and make the deadline impossible enough that you physically cannot check your phone.
And if I don't finish?
You'll finish more than you think, and the muscle you're actually training isn't speed, it's the ability to stay.
There's a second exercise too: productive meditation. Take a walk or a commute and hold one single professional problem in your head. When your mind wanders, and it will, bring it back. Same as meditation, except the object is a problem you're paid to solve.
That sounds exhausting.
It is. That's the point. You've spent years never letting your mind sit with anything difficult. Of course, the first attempt hurts.
Okay, here we go. The part where the professor tells me to delete everything and go live in a cabin.
Actually, no. He gives you something much harder to argue with.
The craftsman's approach to tool selection. A craftsman doesn't adopt a tool because it has a benefit. He adopts it if the benefits to the things he actually cares about outweigh the damage.
Because the way most of us judge an app is, does this have any value at all? And of course it does. Everything has some value. That's a bar so low, nothing on earth fails it.
So apply the law of the vital few. Roughly 20% of activities produce 80% of the results. List the 2 or 3 things that actually matter in your career and your life. Then ask, honestly, whether this tool meaningfully serves them.
And if it doesn't?
Then you're not using it. It's using you.
There's a science fiction novelist named Neil Stephenson who put this in writing on his own website for anyone who wanted to reach him.
His argument was roughly this: if I organize my life so I get long, consecutive, uninterrupted blocks, I can write novels. If I chop that same time into small pieces, I produce nothing of value. I can answer a lot of email, or I can write books, not both.
He just told people that? Out loud?
He decided which of the 2 he'd rather be remembered for. Max. Most people never make that choice consciously. They just drift into the email version.
And notice, he's not being rude. He's being honest about a trade that everyone else pretends doesn't exist.
Now, before you think this is universal, Newport is honest about the exception. Jack Dorsey ran 2 companies at once, and his days were shallow by design. Constant interruption, meetings back to back, decisions in bursts.
Ha! So it doesn't matter.
It matters that you understand why he's the exception, Max. A CEO's value is judgment across many small inputs. He's paid to be interrupted. You are not a CEO.
For almost everyone else, the value comes from what you can build when nobody is talking to you.
Rule 4. Drain the shallows. And this is where it gets uncomfortably practical.
First, schedule every minute of your day not to become a robot, to force a decision. When you have to give each block a name, you finally see how much of your life goes to things nobody would miss.
And when the day blows up? Because it always blows up.
You rewrite the schedule. That's not failure, that's the exercise. The point was never the plan, it was refusing to drift.
Second, quantify the depth of every activity. And Newport's test is beautiful. Ask how many months it would take to train a smart new graduate to do this task.
And if the answer is like 2 weeks?
Then it's shallow, and in 2026, 2 weeks to train doesn't even need the graduate anymore.
Third, fixed schedule productivity. Pick your hard stop. Say 6 p.m., then work backwards, refusing whatever doesn't fit. It sounds naive. It's actually the most aggressive filter there is, because scarcity forces priority.
And finally, become hard to reach. Make people who want your attention do a little work for it. Newport's version is a sender filter. Tell people what you will and won't respond to, and stop treating every message as a debt you owe.
My boss is not going to love this.
Your boss doesn't judge you on how fast you reply, Max. Your boss judges you on what exists at the end of the quarter. Those are different jobs, and you've been doing the wrong one.
And here's the quiet math. If you cut your shallow work by even 20%, you don't lose 20% of your output. You gain the only hours where anything valuable was ever going to happen.
There's a blacksmith in Wisconsin named Ric Furrer. In a converted barn, he recreates ancient metalworking, Viking swords, Damascus steel, with hand tools, the way it was done 1,000 years ago.
Newport describes him watching the color of the steel, waiting for the exact shade of orange. Miss it by a moment, and the blade is ruined.
That's terrifying.
He calls it a good day's work. And that's the last argument in the book, the one that isn't about money at all. Deep work doesn't just make you valuable. It's the only kind of work that feels like it means something.
Because a life spent reacting to notifications leaves nothing behind that you can point at.
So the machine that scared me,
Is very good at the half of your job you never liked anyway. It cannot sit with a hard problem for 4 hours. It cannot build the tower.
The people panicking are the ones who spent 10 years perfecting the shallow. The people who can still concentrate just watch their skill get rarer and worth more.
so what do I do on Monday?
90 minutes. Phone in another room. One hard thing. Same time on Tuesday. That's it. That's the whole beginning.
And write the hours on a piece of paper where you can see them. Not the tasks, the hours.
And that's enough?
It's more than almost anyone around you is doing, Max. That's what rare means.
And the strangest part is that within about 2 weeks, you'll realize you were sold a story about your own attention span that was never true. Rule 1 to 4. If this one earned it, subscribe. We do a book like this every week. That's the chapter.